Hi, welcome to my YouTube channel. So in this video, I'm going to show you how you can do radar charts with Tableau using the FIFA 2018 dataset. So the first thing you need to do is, of course, upload the CSV file into Tableau. You just need to click on text file, and just look for your that. Okay, so I have it here. I just need to clean it. So I just need to tell Tableau that this is a CSV and the semicolon is what is separating my data. Okay, so when you have your data set in Tableau, what we want to do is to be able to do some radar charts like this. Okay, so we want to see, for example, by player, a radar chart on the different attributes here: aggression, agility, acceleration, score, composure, and so on. So the way the dataset of FIFA 2018 is formatted is not appropriate for doing this kind of analysis. So as you see here, the dataset is set in the wide format. So that means that all the variables are in columns. So in order to be able to do a radar chart like the one I just showed you, we need to go from this wide format to the long format. So it means that I'm going to use these values that are here as a column, and I'm going to just convert them into lines. So acceleration will be a line, and aggression another line, agility another line. So it means that I have to repeat all those values for each of my player. Okay, so it's like you will do in Excel, that when you have to transpose or pivot your variables from columns to line. Well, you have to do the same thing in Tableau. So this is how you do. The easiest way to do it is by clicking here on the variables list. So instead of having your table or your dataset shown as a table, you want to see the list of your variables. So you just click here, and you are going to select all those variables that you want to pivot, so that you want to pass from row to line. Select them. So I'm going to select, for example, acceleration, aggression, agility, balance, ball control, composure, crossing, curve, diving, and let's say finishing. And then you need to just click right and say pivot. Okay, so mine is in French, don't worry about it, but you'll see yours should be written pivot. So you click on that, and this is what happens. So I'm going to show you. So you go back to your data, and you are going to see, for example, that Cristiano Ronaldo is going to be repeated like many times. This is because for each line, Tableau is repeating all the measures. So you see, for example, now I have a new variable, so it's name of the fields, but I can change it. So I'm just going to change the name of this variable. I'm going to say that is the attributes, right? So it means that there is one data for Cristiano Ronaldo acceleration, Cristiano Ronaldo aggression, Cristiano Ronaldo agility, and I have these values here, which are the scores that correspond to the attribute just from the column before. So I'm going to change here. Score attribute. Attribute. So that means that Cristiano Ronaldo scores 89 in acceleration, scores 63 in aggression, scores 89 in agility. So it means that it's going to repeat all my measures, everything that is all the other measures that are fixed, as many times as I pivot variables. So if I take 10 columns and I want them to be on lines, then I will have 10 repeated measures for in this case, Cristiano Ronaldo or other players. So that's the first thing we need to do. Once we have our data set like this, we can do radar charts. Okay, so for radar charts, we need to create some calculated fields to tell Tableau what are the axes and how our axes are built, depending on how many variables I want to see on the radar chart. We're going to create some calculated fields. So the first field that we are going to create is going to be the angles. We want to have this radar here, right? So we want to divide this circle, kind of, in the number of attributes or variables that I want to use. So you just need to create a new field, new calculated field. So I already created, and this is what my angle is going to look like. So the first thing is I'm going to add a running sum. So it's going to just take the cumulative sum of what I'm going to give here. So I want to divide the diameter of a circle in the number of attributes that I'm going to see in the radar. Okay, so I need to create a running sum of 2 multiplied by p, which is the diameter of a circle, and I'm going to divide it by the number of attributes that I have on my attribute dimension. What it's doing here is counting the number of different values in attribute. So I have 12 just in case. So it's going to divide this space in 12 elements, so that I have my angle divided in 12. So this is what this field is doing. Okay, so this is the first calculated field that I need to create. And then I need to create how the each attribute is going to go from the 0, so from the center of the radar to the different axes. So I have to create a new parameter that is going to be called distance from center, right? So again, create new parameter. So in this case, I'm going to use the average. So I just want to see the average score of each attribute. So this is going to give me how much, how far should my value be from the center of the radar. Okay. So depending on what is it that you want to see, you may need here the sum instead of the average. I need the average because I want to see exactly what is the score. For example, if I change from one club to the other, I want to see the average of the players rather than the sum, because the sum is not telling me much. So I need the average. But you could use the sum, for example, if you are using sales for a specific month or something like this. Now that I have those, I have to create the axis. So it means that I have to have one axis for the y and one axis in the x. And I have to divide that axis according to the number of parameters that I have. So another calculated field. So the first is the axis for the x. So I'm going to show you. So what I need to do is just multiply the distance from the center, the calculated field that we just created before, and I'm going to multiply those by the cosinus of the angle we created. Okay, so that is our x-axis, and the y-axis is just the same. So you can just, for example, duplicate your x-axis. So instead of having the cosinus this time, you're going to use the sinus. So again, distance from the center multiply sinus of the angle variable we created. Okay, so now I can create my radar now that I have created all the calculated fields, the angle, and the axis. And this is how we do. So the first thing is that we are going to grab our angle variable, and we are going to put it here in details. Then we are going to grab our attribute variable, and we are also going to put it on details. Okay, so we should have this. And now what I need to do is to organize my angle according to the attribute. So I'm going to click right, and I'm going to say that I want to calculate an order upon attribute. Okay, now that we have this, I can add my angles. So first, the axis for X on the columns, then the axis for y on the lines. And you see now we have kind of the points that will make our rudder. Okay, good. So now what we need to do is to change that points into kind of an area, right? We want to see the area here. So for doing that, I'm going to change that here, this attribute here, and I'm going to say that I want a polygon. So it's going to show me this kind of weird graph here. But what I would really want is that I want to have the line between the different attributes so that I can see the inside area that is colored, right? And that will be my rudder. When I change to polygons, I just going to grab my attribute variable here, and I'm going to just place it on lines. And voila, we have our rudder. This is not telling me the information. So I have the rudder, but I don't have any point showing me the value unless I go over it, right? So what I need to do is I need to put the points here with the value and the name of the attribute so that I can see exactly what I'm doing. So this is what we are going to do. So for doing that, we are just going to add a second axis y. So we are going to duplicate the axis y, right? So we have now two graphs, two equal graphs. But I'm going to change the second graph, this one, on the bottom, so that I can see only the points, the data points. Okay, so I'm going to place myself here, and now I'm going to change this. So I don't want the lines anymore, right? So I am going to say that I want just circles. Okay, so now I have the circles here. So I'm going to change this, and I want to have the labels of the attributes here. So I'm going to take my attribute and I'm going to put it on text. So now I'll see, you see, potential, acceleration, aggression, agility, and so on. And now I want to see also the value, the score for those. So I'm going to go and look for my variable score attribute here. And I'm also going to put it on text. So I should have here the value. But it's showing me a high value is because it's the sum. So I'm going to change that. I just need to tell that it's the mean that I want. Okay, so now I have it. Now we can also change the color of these points, right? So I can just say that I want another color. So it's giving me by default this blue, but I can also change that, and I'm just going to modify, and I can change just from here. So let's say that I want what? Let's say this. Okay. So now I have this, and what I need to do is to have these points over my radar area. Okay, so I need to put this on top. So for doing that, I just need to merge both graphs. And for doing it, I just need to click on the right click on the little arrow and just say that it's a double X. And voila, we have our radar chart with the values that we want. Now I need to change the axis here because it's going only on up till 60. So in case I have a higher score, then it's going to modify the axis. So what I want is that I want to have a fixed axis so that I can really see how far from the better score or the maximum score is each of these attributes. So for doing that, I place myself on the axis and I say I'm going to modify it. I'm going to choose a fixed axis, so fixed values, and I know that the score is from 0 to 100, and of course it's minus 100 also because I have the negative part of the graph. So it's from minus 100 to 100. Okay, great. So now I have that. Now I have to change this one also. So I have to modify the axis, and again it's fixed, minus 100 and 100. And the same goes for the x-axis, so modify, minus 100, 100. Oops. And now I have this. Okay, so this is what we want to have. Now, there are different things that I could do with this. So this is showing me the global population score, average score, of course, for all these attributes. But I could also just see, for example, player by player, how this changes. Okay, so for doing that, what I can do is just take my name dimension and put it on the filter. So I just take the dimension and I say that I want to have a filter. So in this case, I'm showing everything because I'm showing the population. And I'm going to say that I want to show the filter. So it means that when I create this in a dashboard, the user could select the player they want. Okay. So for example, I'm going to deselect everything and I can go and just look for one player and see how this player scores in all this. So let's say we want to take Cristiano Ronaldo. Let's see if we find it. So we have here Cristiano Ronaldo and I'm going to check it. So you see now we have his radar chart and we see that it's pretty close to 90 to 100, most of them, except for aggression and balance. And we can see this for each of the player, right? So we can see this, and for example, we could see this one. So this is one thing I could do, but I can also like to see, for example, the average score and the average graph for each club. For doing that, I'm just going to take this out. And what I'm going to do is that I'm going to grab my club dimension, and I also can put it on the filter, so I will be doing the same thing, right? So I say that I want to show the filter, and let's say that I'm going to take, let's say that I want to see Atletico Madrid. So this is showing me the mean of those. It will be more interesting if I could see one club against the other, right? That will be great. So for doing that, I'm going just to take this out. So I take my club dimension and I'm going to put it here in colors. So it's going to already suggest me to add a filter because there are many clubs and it's going to get messy. So what I do is that I say filter and then add. And here I can choose the clubs that I want to see, okay? So you can either do it manually, okay? So just select the clubs that you want to see against the others. Or you can, let's say, decide to see the 10 first. And let's say that I want to see the first 10 upon wage. The wage, and let's say it can be the sum or the mean. Okay, so now I will have, so these are the 10 clubs, one against the other. So I have the first one is going to be Arsenal. And so it's showing me all the points for Arsenal. Here is Barcelona. Okay, so now that you have this, you can also, for example, just eliminate here the numbers if you want to make it more minimalistic. But I do recommend leaving those axis values here because it's easier for the user to know what is the value, especially if you are putting one club here against the other, because you can easily see, otherwise you only have this for one of the clubs but not two. So but if you want to just get rid of these values here, you can just click right and say that you don't want to see the axis, and you do the same for each, and that's what you have. Great, so that's how you do radar charts in Tableau. I hope this helped you to make your radars. And that's it for today. So thank you for watching this. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you want to see more of this content. And of course, stay tuned for next videos. Bye bye.